Hello and welcome to another Tableau video. I am going to show you data labels, right? I almost forgot for a second there. And data labels, if I load up the Superstore, which is this one right here, just so we have some data to play with, right? I'll show you exactly what a data label is. Okay, if I can find one. Here we go, right? So anytime you have like a bar chart and it actually represents the numbers like so, that's basically a data label. Right, pretty simple. So in this case, there are none, right? But if I go suddenly and add that, now it's showing data as labels, right? That's basically a data label, and it's super simple to do. So I'm going to do a simple example here. If we get, let's say product, let's open this up. We've got category, subcategory, and we're going to bring in sales. So if I grab that, just put it there. I've got my sales here, okay? And I'm going to do highest to lowest just so you can see. If I'm printing this out with Tableau, you don't really want to print things out, but sometimes you do, and you want to actually see the number because whilst it's good to know that this one is higher than this, you actually don't know the number and you can't really go down because you don't know the exact number. And sometimes you can't hover because it's printed or for some other reason. So you just want to show the label there. So what you can do is you can either copy this one and bring it into here, or you can do a new one and bring it over there. There's a few little tricks you can do as well. So if I just use my left click button on my mouse and move it over, it's just going to move it. I don't want to move it. I want to duplicate it. So I hold Control on the keyboard, right? And you'll notice that this little plus symbol, right? It disappears. Can you see it? So if I'm not pressing plus, if I'm not pressing Control, if I am pressing Control, and that plus means duplicate. It means copy it over. So now if I drop that in there, this one stays exactly where it is. Okay, that's the first trick. Now let's say this wasn't sum. Let's say this was average. Okay, if I bring sales over here, it's going to do sum because Tableau is saying, okay, by default, it's a measure, it's going to be a sum. So you can actually use your right click button and drag it. Okay, so I'm using my right click. If I drop it in here, Tableau is going to bring up this table saying, okay, well, what kind of calculation do you want to do? And this works for a number of things, right? Let's say I want to bring category in here. It's going to do this. But let's say if I right click, it's going to ask me something extra. Well, do you want to count? Do you want to maximum? So it's a neat little trick, especially if you have lots of data, lots of information. So let's say I have a list of 100,000. If I drop it into rows, it's going to try and show me 100,000. It's going to use up a lot of memory in my computer. Maybe I just want to show count. So by right clicking and dragging into here, you don't use up as much memory, you work a lot faster, and you save a few seconds. And if you've been listening to my videos, all these, if you save 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there, it all compounds, it adds up. Basically, you're going to be doing, in some cases, a whole week's work in probably an hour. It can happen. I have experienced that. Other people I've worked with have experienced that when you get super efficient. So let's finish off what we're doing here. So sales, I'm going to right click drag into labels, and I'm going to go average. Okay, I've selected that and I go okay. So now you have the labels right there. There's a few more things you can do. Number one is formatting. Okay, if I right click this text label and I go format, it's going to bring up my formatting options. The one usually I change is this one right here, which is, for now, it's a currency. Maybe I just want a number. Okay, maybe I don't want that many decimal places. Maybe I want more, right? Depending on what I'm trying to show. Usually, if I'm trying to just present a concept or present rough numbers, I don't put decimal places unless accuracy is involved, and then in which case it does come in. You can display different units. So again, if it's just a simple idea, right, you can do it in thousands, millions, billions. Billions is G. Huh, that's weird. I don't know if that's correct. Tableau guys, please fix that. Right, you can do that. This thing I don't really use, so I can't really teach you. Thousand separator, right? I don't think I have 1,000 here. Oh yeah, I do here, right? If I use, oops, we lost that. If I use that, it actually makes it disappear, okay? I like this because it's, we're so used to reading it that way. You can do standard, which means it just shows it as is. Currency, again, you can change your units, thousands, whatever it might be. The prefix can be, let's say it's not pounds, let's say it's asterisks, right? It just puts it in the front. Suffix is puts it at the end. Okay, I actually do know. How about that? I just don't remember. Scientific is scientific notation. So 1.73E02, for example, is 1.73 times 10 to the power of 2. Okay. Percentages, you can do in there. Custom, if you want to do any custom formats. So sometimes you might use this for date formats, time. That's the kind of stuff I usually use it for. Alignments works a little bit differently here. If I go center, it puts it in the middle. Put on the left, put it at the beginning. Depends on your data, which one's the best. I tend to use the right one just because it doesn't interfere or overlap. When you have like larger data sets, you can use vertical set. So for example, let's make this a little bit wider. Okay, if I do alignment like so, it brings it up to the bottom, right? Again, all depends what you're trying to do. You can make them vertical, right? You can do wrap testing. So if it's really, really long, you can put that on or off, right? So that's kind of the formatting side. In terms of what else you can put in here, you don't have to put the same thing. You don't have to put average sales, average sales. You can put in whatever you want. I can put in profit, right? Let's just do sum of profit. So I can actually say that this is the sales and this is profit. However, it's not the best practice because people will make the assumption that whatever number you have here, that's what your number is right there. And you'll be surprised how many times I've done that. And like sometimes as a test, if I got a new analyst, I want to see if he picks up on it or she picks up on it. Or sometimes it is just an honest mistake and you don't even really notice it because we kind of just assume that that's the right number. Okay, so neat little, just a tip there. You can also add dimensions in there. So let's say I want to add subcategory as an example. You can put it in there. You could do that if maybe you didn't want to show this part, right? Oops, not that. Let's say you don't want to show that part. So you can split as labels like that, right? You can pretty much put whatever you want in the label. The other thing you can do is if I click here, there's a few things you can do, and I'll show you like the line graph one as well. In here, you can do a lot more. You can add as many things as you really want. Okay, so actually we might do this in a bar chart so you can really see. So let's say I clear this and I need a date of some sort. So let's say order date. I'm going to do a continuous one like that, and I'm going to do sales or no profit. Let's do sales. Okay, and I'm going to do maybe not exact date just so you can see it. Let's do maybe month, maybe year, quarter. That's better. Okay, so let's say I want to put data labels on this. Again, I can duplicate the sum. Okay, it'll do that. For me, like in some of the work I do, we're trying to show running progress. So if I go running total, I don't really want to show all the in-between ones. Like my managers are only interested with where are we now, for example, right? So what I can do is if I click on label here, I can go to, for example, line ends. Okay, I don't know if I can move that. All right, and I can go either show the start or the end. So if I can get rid of start, it's only going to show me this one, right? If I go just show me the start, it's only going to show me this one. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is if I show all of them, and sometimes you have a lot more points, right? Let's say a lot more points. Okay, naturally what Tableau does is it doesn't let it overlap, so it's a lot easier to read. In Excel, it does overlap, right? And there is no option to kind of remove that overlap. That's what it would look like in Excel, right? Because it's trying to label every single point. So what this function does is it prevents that. It just shows you, it spaces it out nice and evenly, which is really, really nice. Okay, there's that. You can do it so that you can show the minimum and maximum value. So like if I get rid of this, it will show me the minimum, which is 899 pounds, and the maximum, which is 28,908. I can do this for tables, cells, pane. So let's say I do like a year. Okay, I'm gonna do it like that. It's gonna split it by pane. So each one of these is a pane. Okay. Each one of these points is like considered a cell or a unit, a point of data, right? So if I do cell, hang on, table, it's gonna do the whole thing. Oops. And then if I do pane, it's gonna do it individually. Again, depends what you're trying to do. You can also do selected. So if I select these, it'll show it. Okay. I can do highlighted, which I never even know the difference between highlighted and selected is. If someone knows, they can tell me. Most recent just means the last date in that set, right? And that's pretty much, oh, one more thing I want to show you. So let's say if I get rid of year, right? Let's just do, actually, no, I like year. And then we'll change this to month, okay? Let's do bar, right? God, that's so easy. That used to take us ages. The other thing is, let's say I want to show more than just that label. Let's say I also wanted to show the month, so I can duplicate month in there. But let's say I don't really like that format. Just make a back a line again. All right, so let's say I don't really like this format, right? I can actually change that. So if I click on this and go text, I can make it something like this. In the month of, actually don't know the month because it's a variable. In the month of that, we made that much money in sales. Okay, and actually format this to all sorts of things. So let's say I make that. I can make that italic underline, which I probably never will. So let's just do that. Red, and let's make this slightly larger. Let's make this slightly larger. Okay, so if I go OK, that's what happens, right? And I can actually change the position of this by going alignment. You can go to the top, bottom side. I can put it on the right, left side. Okay. Again, you can do all sorts of things with the labels. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.